Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake,
Thank you,
up
brothers
you wake!
and sisters, for that welcome. And thank you for this opportunity to talk with you this evening. I thought a great deal about what's happening to our children in public schools. Now, most of the time when I come over here, that's what I talk to you about, because that's really where my life is centered. But it occurred to me that Alton's been in this struggle, and I'm very concerned about how we're progressing in it. So I thought a lot about it, sisters and brothers, and titled what I want to share with you tonight called Black People Still Don't Get It.
All right.
For some time now, I have been trying to get the idea over that black people must take charge of their lives and those of their children. We can't leave this to other people to do, because they're not going to do it. And we cannot sit around wringing our hands and shaking our heads and talking. It's getting late, brothers and sisters, especially for our children. Now, when it gets to the point that the way we live is destructive and leads to our extermination, then we have to think about what has happened to our culture. And we need to take a long, serious look at our condition now.
Amen. Go right there. Go ahead.
If culture is the sum total of artifacts which any group accumulates in its struggle for survival and autonomy, then it's dynamic, because it's a struggle. It's not static. It doesn't stand still and never change. It changes with the condition, okay? Because as you try to survive and to be self-autonomous, and the conditions change that keep you from doing that, you change in order to combat those conditions. Am I making sense to you? Okay. Now, what is survival? I mean, you know, what survival means that the group has to do at least three things. One, the group has to see that each individual member keeps himself or herself in good enough mental, moral, spiritual, and physical health long enough to reproduce that self and then take care of whatever you reproduce. That's the least. If you don't do that, the group dies. It's gone. Okay. So that's what survival means. In order to be self-autonomous, it means that the group has to have within its control the means to assure its survival. You can't depend on nobody else to do that. That's not going to happen. That's not the way the world works. Now, what are the chief obstacles to survival? Okay? Let's just be real. What are they? One is nature. You got to have within the means of the group some way for the group to survive earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever. Right? So nature is one. Other men and women who might want to take your land, water, means of survival. And yourself. You can't become no cotton-picking drug addict, alcoholic, and kill yourself. Right?
That's right.
Okay. Those are the obstacles. Now, the culture that we pass down from generation to generation is supposed to help the group to survive and to be self-autonomous. The major way that we pass this culture on is through what? Groups. Family, church, school, organizations like this. Those are the means. Okay, now, unfortunately for us, we live in a country where the overriding values of the country are against us. For instance, these overriding values put in the positions of privilege, people who are white,
All right.
people who are male, and people who are wealthy.
All right.
And these three groups dominate the society. So when we talk about teaching our children instrumental values like equality, liberty, fraternity, etc., we are talking about ordering those values under the institutional values of race, gender, and wealth, so that more white people get equality, liberty, and fraternity than black people, more men get equality, liberty, and fraternity than women, and more wealthy people get equality, liberty, and fraternity than poor people. You get it?
All right.
All right.
All right.
It doesn't do enough then, ladies and gentlemen, for us to teach our children about the instrumental values, you know, if we don't teach them the impact of the institutional values on the distribution of the latter. Otherwise, our kids don't get the full message and don't know how to behave. Now, when I was a young woman looking for a job in 1947, the newspapers would advertise, "No Negroes need apply." All right? Chicago, Illinois, March 28, 1947. Chicago, Illinois. I did not say Mississippi.
All right.
North. I was up north. All right? Right. So, what did that say? That said that on March 28, 1947, when I was looking for my first job, affirmative action was for white people. Now, just because we didn't call it that then, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean it wasn't. And now that it's our turn to have affirmative action, it's suddenly no turns. No turns. It's always our turn, right? It's always white people's turn for affirmative action. Nobody else gets a turn. So much for taking turns. But isn't that what we teach for 2 weeks in kindergarten? Oh, the teacher tells you, your child has to learn to take a turn. We teach him take a turn in kindergarten, take a turn in first grade, take a turn in second grade, wait your turn in third grade, don't butt in fourth grade, stay in line in fifth grade. When you get to be an adult, you stand and queue up at the cashier. Take your turn, wait your turn. But don't nobody take no turns in this country. It's always the white man's turn. It's always the rich man's turn. It's always their turn.
All right.
So much for taking turns. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, which legalized Jim Crow, and the overt racism that we knew as Jim Crow was forbidden. And most Negroes, now calling themselves black, thought the problem was solved. Black folks just didn't get it. We just didn't get it. We thought that the problem was segregation. But segregation was a symbol of the problem. The problem was this institutional value system of race, gender, and wealth. That's the problem. And ladies and gentlemen, it still is. The United States is not a democracy yet. It's trying to be. Trying to be. And I always tell my students when they say, I'm trying to do it, Miss Sizemore, I say, come here. And I say, I'm trying to hit you. I'm trying to hit you. Right? I'm trying to hit you. And then when I finish, I said, did I hit you? And he said, no. I said, so much for trying. But the United States is a capitalist country. It is that. Now, if it can be a democracy within the parameters prescribed by the capitalist paradigm, it does it. But when it can't, it won't. The basic premise of capitalism is to make a profit by any means necessary. And the unit of measure is the United States dollar. And ladies and gentlemen, it is taboo to teach this to your children. When I say taboo, I mean it's forbidden. For instance, if anybody gets up in front of a class and tries to teach the children about capitalism and how to be a capitalist, they are immediately labeled socialist or communist and run out of the room. Right? It's a taboo. Don't you think that's strange? That in a capitalist country, we cannot teach our children to be capitalists? Oh, think about it. Because you see, in a capitalist country, you are either a capitalist or you are a victim.
All right.
There's no in-betweens.
All right.
There's no in-betweens. You either play the game here or you're a victim of it. Now, you have to make a choice. Of course, you can always leave the country.
All right.
That's another choice. Right? Now, capitalism demands competition, selfishness, and mean-spiritedness. It demands it. But what do they teach your children in school? Be cooperative. Be cooperative. Take your turn. Don't fight. Don't cheat. Now, everybody engaged in capitalism knows that the motto is win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. And what I'm trying to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, is the real world that our children live in, not the ideal one that we want them to live in, not this wonderful world that we pray that will come here one day, but the real world that they have to live in. You want to know why they're acting so crazy? You want to know why they're doing the things that they're doing? Because we have not prepared them to live in this real world. We have sent them through 12 years of school teaching them this dumb stuff that doesn't work, and when they go out and try to apply it and get killed for it, we are not there to help them through. We are not there. We fade away on them. Somewhere around about 9th grade, we start talking about, I can't control him. I can't do nothing with him. Get out of my house if you don't do what I tell you to do. And we abandon them to the mean streets and then cry because they get murdered.
Right. That's right.
Capitalism is not compatible with equality. It is not compatible with equity. It is not compatible with Christianity, no matter how hard we try.
All right.
The struggle for survival in the United States is the handling of this never-ending tension between the institutional values of race, gender, and wealth, which give undue and unearned privileges and advantages to some so that others cannot compete on an equal basis for the resources of this country.
All right.
This is the game. This is the game, ladies and gentlemen. As Alton told you, politics is the management of the conflict which occurs when groups war over the resources.
All right. Right.
Resources include money,
All right.
land, right? So politics is just the passing around of the resources. Right. If you don't have the resources, as Alton told you, you're not in the game.
Right.
Black people just don't get it.
All right. All right.
We just don't get it.
All right.
Those who are at the bottom form a group which is bound by its cultural artifacts. That's language, religion, tradition, art, music, style, values. And these form a bond of cohesion which, if nourished, does become nationalism.
All right. Right.
But it has to be nourished.
All right.
And it has to be nourished by the group.
All right. Thank you.
How do we do that? Family, church, school, organizations,
All right.
institutions. Okay.
All right. All right.
When it becomes nationalistic, then the group is strong enough to create an economic niche in which the people can slide to make a living.
All right.
But under capitalism, you must be a producer. You cannot continue to be consumers. African Americans spend more money than, well, there's one group that spends more money than us. We spend. Ladies and gentlemen, this means we do have money.
All right.
We spend it, right? So if you got money to spend, you do have money. This girl lost her father. She was in medical school when I was living in Pittsburgh. This young lady lost her father, and he left enough money for her to go to school to finish her medical school, but it was in probate in the Pennsylvania court, and so she needed the money to pay her tuition right away. So she came to me and she said, do you think that you could get $5,000 for me to pay my tuition? And she needed it like in 2 weeks. So I went to my block club. We had a nice little block club, you know, all these little middle-class people, professional people up on the hill. They're called Sugar Top in Pittsburgh. And so I went around the block club and I said, can we get $5,000 together to get to this girl so she could get through school? And they come talking to me, well, we haven't got that kind of money. Now I said, well, let's figure out some way to do it and we'll meet in 3 days. And so during that 3 days, I walked around in the 6-block area in which I live, which is called Sugar Top in Pittsburgh, and I just wrote down all the cars that cost more than $35,000. Now these cars, mind you, costing more than $35,000 was sitting out on the street. They didn't have garages to put them in. So I went to the next 3-day meeting and I had the long list of cars and I said, look, sisters, I said, look at all these cars that white people are parking in front of our houses. Because obviously, if we didn't have no money, we couldn't be buying $35,000 cars, right? Okay, so the sisters forked up the money and we gave it to the girl. But my point is that we say we don't have any money, but funny enough, we got money to buy all of these clothes and all of these cars and all these rings. I see brothers and sisters with 9 pounds of gold hanging around them, talking about they ain't got no money. Well, I guess not if it's all on plastic. But that's another problem. That's another problem. You must try to be plastic free.
All right.
The plastic makes you a victim. The plastic makes you a victim. You will never participate in the capitalist process as a winner if you are a victim.
All right.
Then the brother came to me and he talked to me. He said, all this old capitalism crap you talking about, he said, you ought to shut up because we don't want to be engaged in capitalism. I said, show me your wallet. So he took out his wallet. I said, ain't no money in it. He said, no. I said, well, how you live? Where you live? Because I got to pay rent where I live. Where you live at? You don't have to pay no rent. What do you eat? Because every time I go to the Jewel, they want long green pictures of dead presidents.
All right.
I mean, hey, man, be real. You can't live in the United States of America without any money.
That's right.
I don't know a problem that our people have that would not be solved by more money.
Right.
Now you see me afterwards. You see me afterwards if you got a problem that money won't solve, because I want to know about it, because I'm making a list of them.
All right.
Because in a capitalist country, you see, that's the whole gig.
That's right.
That's the whole gig. The whole gig is to make everything cost money. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, everything is for sale.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Everything.
That's Jesse Jackson.
Now, if you want to change things around here, I'm with you. I'm for you. But in the meantime, while you changing, you got to eat. Because if you don't eat, you're going to be one dead revolutionary.
All right. All right.
So let's be real. I'm trying to stick to what's real, ladies and gentlemen, because it's this tension between what's real and what's ideal that's killing our kids because they don't know how to deal with it. Okay, what's the problem here? The problem here is that the economy has been restructured.
All right.
So that the jobs that people used to get with little or no education have now disappeared.
All right.
In order to get one of those jobs, you now have to commute to Taiwan.
All right.
Or Mexico City.
All right.
or Haiti. You got to commute for those jobs now, ladies and gentlemen. They're not in Brooklyn.